It had been months since I walked away from her. The woman I once loved, the woman I thought I knew inside and out, had shattered everything between us in one cruel moment. The betrayal still echoed in my mind, her face and the words she spoke burning into my memory. I could still hear her voice, the guilt and the deceit hidden behind every excuse she gave. I had tried to move on. I had tried to convince myself that I was better off without her, that she was just a part of my past now. But there was something in my chest that refused to let go, something I couldn't shake off no matter how many miles I put between us. For months, I stayed in a different city, a new life that I tried to build far from her. I told myself it was easier that way, that the farther I was from her, the less I would feel the hurt of her betrayal. But every night, I found myself staring at the ceiling, haunted by the thoughts of her, of us, and what could have been. I thought I was strong enough to walk away, but the truth was, I wasn't. I had convinced myself that I was better off without her, but deep inside, I knew I was lying to myself. She had been everything to me. Her smile, the way she used to touch my arm when she thought no one was looking, the way she laughed at my terrible jokes, everything about her was imprinted in my soul. I tried dating other people, meeting new faces, but nothing felt right. No one compared to her. I had told myself it was for the best, that I deserved better. But no matter how many new faces I saw, I couldn't stop thinking about her. She was still there, lurking in the corners of my mind. I was finally starting to accept that maybe the pain would never go away. I could move forward, but I would never forget what had happened. And yet, life has a way of throwing unexpected twists at you. One evening, I was walking down the quiet street of my new neighborhood when I saw her. At first, I thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me. After all, it had been months since I had last seen her, months since I had heard her voice. But there she was, standing at the end of the street, her eyes locked onto mine. I froze, my heart racing. I had prepared myself for this moment in my mind 1,000 times. What would I do if she came looking for me? Would I be strong enough to walk away again? Would I even want to? But now that the moment was real, I wasn't sure what I felt. Anger, sadness, confusion. All of those emotions mixed together in a whirlpool, swirling inside me. I didn't move, didn't speak, just watched her as she slowly walked towards me. As she got closer, I could see the changes in her. She looked different, as though she had been carrying the weight of her actions, the guilt and regret that had probably been gnawing at her ever since I left. Her face was pale, her eyes red and puffy, as though she had been crying for days. "Are you going to just stand there?" she finally asked, her voice trembling. I could barely speak. Seeing her in front of me after all this time felt like a punch to the gut. "What are you doing here?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She took a deep breath, her shoulders slumping as though she had been carrying an invisible burden for months. "I couldn't live with myself anymore," she said softly. "I know I messed up. I know what I did was unforgivable, but I need you to understand. I didn't want to hurt you. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I was weak and I made a mistake, but I've realized that I don't want to live my life without you." Her words hit me like a wave, crashing over my every thought and emotion. A part of me wanted to reach out, to hold her, to hear her say that she loved me again, to believe that things could go back to the way they were before. But another part of me, the part that had learned to live without her, pulled me back. "Why now?" I asked, my voice strained. "Why after all this time? Why didn't you come to me before?" "I was scared," she replied, looking down at the ground, her eyes welling up again. "I didn't know how to fix it. I thought you'd never want to see me again, that I had lost you forever. But I couldn't go on pretending like nothing happened. I've missed you so much. Please just let me explain. Let me make things right." I stood there, torn between the woman who had broken my heart and the man I had become since walking away from her. Part of me wanted to scream at her, to tell her everything I had gone through since the betrayal, to make her feel the pain I had endured. But another part of me, the part that still cared for her, wanted to listen, to hear her side, to see if there was any possibility of healing. The silence stretched between us, thick with the weight of everything unsaid. Could I forgive her? Could I move past the betrayal and give her another chance? I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure of anything anymore. The silence stretched on, and the weight of her words hung in the air, leaving me paralyzed. The man I had become, the one who had walked away, was now standing in front of the woman who had once held my heart in her hands. And though I tried to hold on to the anger, the pain, the betrayal, something inside me flickered, something I had buried deep within, something that wasn't completely gone. I could see it in her eyes, the regret, the pain, the genuine remorse, and despite everything that had happened, despite the hurt she had caused, I found myself asking the question, could I forgive her? I took a step back, my mind racing, my thoughts conflicted. She was right, she was weak, and she made a mistake. But the mistake she had made had left me shattered. She had walked into my life, loved me, and then betrayed me in the most intimate way possible. How could I ever trust her again? How could I ever let myself be vulnerable to her again? I don't know if I can forgive you, I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. The words were like acid on my tongue. But they were the truth. I didn't know. She seemed to crumble at my words, her shoulders shaking as she looked down, her voice barely audible. I understand. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I had to come. I couldn't let you go without telling you how sorry I am. I never wanted to hurt you. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the person I had loved, the woman who had been my everything, standing in front of me, broken and vulnerable. The anger I had felt for months slowly began to dissipate, replaced with something else, something I didn't expect. I was angry, yes, but I was also heartbroken, and I was still in love with her, even though I hated the idea of it. I've spent months trying to forget you, I said, my voice trembling with the raw emotion I had kept buried. I've tried to move on, but every time I thought I was okay, you came back into my mind, and I couldn't escape. You ruined me, you broke me, and now here you are, asking for another chance. But I don't know if I can give it to you. Tears welled up in her eyes again, and she stepped closer to me. Please, she pleaded, her voice breaking. I'll do anything. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Just don't walk away from me again. I'm sorry for everything I did. I didn't know what I had until I lost you. Her words hit me like a wave, crashing against my defenses. The memories of the life we had shared, the dreams we had built together came flooding back. I thought I had moved on, that I had built a new life, but the truth was, nothing had been the same without her. I closed my eyes, trying to steady my breath. My heart was torn in two, pulled between the man I had become, the one who had learned to survive without her, and the man I used to be, the one who had loved her more than anything in the world. Could I let her back in? Could I open myself up to her again, knowing the risk? My mind screamed at me to walk away, to protect myself from the pain, to not fall for her lies again. But my heart, that stubborn part of me that refused to let go, whispered another truth. I still loved her. And maybe, just maybe, love was enough to heal the wounds of the past. I looked at her one last time, seeing the woman who had broken my heart, but also the woman who had once been my everything. I don't know if we can fix this, I said quietly, my voice filled with uncertainty. But I'm willing to try. I'm willing to see if we can find a way back to each other. Her face lit up with hope, and she reached for my hand. Thank you, she whispered. I won't waste this chance. I promise you, I won't. We stood there for a moment, the weight of the past still hanging over us, but a flicker of something new between us. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a step, a fragile, hesitant step towards something that might be possible. As we walked away together, side by side, I didn't know what the future held. But I knew one thing. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy. It would take time, effort, and trust to rebuild what had been lost. But maybe, just maybe, we could start over. And if that didn't work out, at least I would have tried. And as I looked at her, the woman who had once broken me and now somehow seemed to be putting me back together, I realized that the road to healing was never straight. It was a winding, rocky path full of twists and turns. But maybe it was a road worth walking, even if we didn't know where it would lead. Questions for the audience. Do you think the main character made the right choice in trying to rebuild the relationship, or should they have walked away completely? How would you have handled this situation if you were in their shoes? Would you have been able to forgive and move on, or would the betrayal have been too much to overcome? Can love really heal the wounds of betrayal, or is it better to let go and move on for good?